got a compassionate waiver to use Regeneron in his treatment. It's one of 3 treatments that he's undergoing right now. The Gilead one that I have a hard time pronouncing. And so, and then another one, dexamethasone, he's taking as well. But Regeneron, President Trump knows the CEO of Regeneron. He's a member of Donald Trump's country club in New Jersey. And so I don't know if they've played golf together or not, but they at least have acknowledgement of one another. The CEO spoke back in March to President Trump when they had a big cabinet meeting and invited different, pharmaceutical execs in to talk about treatments for the vaccine and everything. And so this is a interesting company. And so the drug that President Trump took from Regeneron had some interesting information that we came across today. I don't know if you want to share it now, if you want to talk about
go ahead. Let's do it. Yes.
But this is number 10. Came across this today, and this is really interesting. This is from the Regeneron website, and this is basically so this has been out there for months. This is from April this year, and it's basically their position statement on stem cell research. And so, for our audience to understand what we're going to talk about at this point, the drugs that Regeneron has been developing, they've used various methods of developing different drugs, including what the president is on. But I wanted to zero in on one particular passage here, and this is number 11. This is from the Regeneron website and from their own statement on stem cell research, and stem cells are being used to produce the treatment that President Trump is on, or they're calling it clonal antibodies, but clonal antibodies come from stem cells, okay? So I'm going to just read this. As is the case with many other science-focused biotechnology companies, Regeneron uses a wide variety of research tools and technologies to help discover and develop new therapeutics. Stem cells are one such tool. The stem cells most commonly used at Regeneron are mouse embryonic stem cells and human blood stem cells. Currently, there are limited research efforts employing human-induced pluripotent stem cell lines derived from adult human cells and human embryonic stem cells that are approved for research by the National Institutes of Health and created solely through in-vitro fertilization. Okay, that's a lot of scientific gobbledygook there, so let me translate part of that. Part of the development of the vaccine, or whatever we want to call it, the treatment that the president has been administered, the Regeneron, which I thought was an odd name when we first heard about it last week, that he was actually approved for this. One of those is human embryonic stem cells produced by in-vitro fertilization. So let me translate that for you. They created an embryo in a test tube or a petri dish.
A human embryo.
A human embryo. And they harvested the stem cells from that embryo. Now that embryo, after the stem cells have been harvested, that embryo is no longer vital.
Dead.
And has to be disposed of. So if you are...
They're creating a life.
They're creating a life to harvest the stem cells.
And then kill it.
Yes. I mean, and so that's part of this. Now,
these are aborted baby stem cells.
They're cannibalizing babies for drugs.
Yes. Regeneron, and this is their statement. It's not true news, opinion, or anything like that. This is their words that they're doing. Now, they use other lines of research as well, but when it comes to the treatment that the president is under, it comes from clonal antibodies, which are developed from human embryonic stem cells.
But it also said from mice.
Yes, from mice too. So
you're putting mice stem cells in a human.
Apparently, and there's other reports that they're using hamsters and others, but this is the...
Makes you want to question all of these treatments.
This is
what
they're doing. Yeah.
You're putting animal stem cells into humans, and we're talking about the President of the United States.
Yes.
What's it becoming?
Well, and that's a great question, Rick. So, you see, what really stood out in my mind was his statement yesterday, I feel 20 years younger. Well, you were taking a drug called Regeneron, and now we find out today that Regeneron, that one of the is from aborted stem cells. Rick, it shocked me to learn this today. I mean, it really shocked me because I'm radically pro-life, and
And you would never take this.
And by the way, just for the record, the Republican Party platform is adamantly opposed. I mean, it's part of their 2020 platform, where they are opposed to embryonic stem cell research. Okay, so that's, if you're a Republican and you sign on to the Republican Party platform, you're saying I am opposed to experimental stem cell research using human embryos. This is in opposition to that.
All right, so now the most radical Trump supporters, how do you respond to this news that the president is being treated with a drug that uses stem cells from aborted human embryos?
So you've got several
Or I should
responses.
say human embryos that are harvested and
Yes.
then aborted.
Yes, they're created for the purpose of,
Not aborted from a
Right.
mother, but from a petri dish.
right, it's created life. If you believe that life begins at conception or fertilization, which
So
President
they're
Trump,
farming humans.
you're exactly right.
They're farming human babies to get the stem cells, and then once the stem cells are removed, the human baby embryo dies.
It's dead.
It's a farm.
Yes.
Basically killing kids to create a drug to save ourselves.
So why is the president receiving it, and why is he bragging about this company?
You can come to several conclusions on it, Rick. Either number one, he doesn't know where it comes from, but I can't help but think
But he's the president of the United States, and he's at Walter Reed.
right. He's also friends with the CEO of Regeneron. Now,
He's
that's
both
a
company
fact. That is a fact. And either he doesn't know, which would be a hard case to make, or he does know and it doesn't matter. Or maybe he's one of these people that says, well, it's not really a human life until later on. Now, I applaud President Trump for being publicly pro-life, but I have to say you have to take it all the way. Judge Barrett, that he just nominated for the Supreme Court, has been vocal about believing that life begins at conception, at fertilization. So she would be opposed to this.
Aren't these moral issues just so troubling?
Yes.
Morality keeps getting in the way of
Science.
science. Because maybe his argument is, well, yes, I'm pro-life, but in this case, this is my life.
That's exactly it. If he knows this, that must have been the logic he would have gone through.
And I know where people are thinking right now, well, here you guys are bashing Trump again. I'm just
Tell
telling
the
you.
truth.
He's laid out the facts. That's what it was. Regeneron's own statement for April.
We're not making this up. I mean, if it was any other president, if it's Barack Obama, if it's President Bush, whoever it was, Ronald Reagan, that doesn't matter. This is what the truth is. Let me ask you, would you take any kind of medication? Would you take any kind of medication that was developed from aborted babies? Would you? I mean, maybe you would. Maybe that's okay with you. But President Trump has. That's not a diss on him, unless you believe he goes along with it. So,
Hey, one of our longtime supporters, Rita, and she gave me a new line. Okay, and this was her response to somebody who was complaining that I was too critical about President Trump's activities and his behavior, and she said, "It's true news, not nice news." Thank you, Rita. Okay, that's what we do here. It's true news. It's not nice news. It's just true. We specialize in truth, and people get their feelings hurt. They get all worked up about things. It's just truth. We're dealing with truth. The president has been treated with an experimental drug that derives stem cells from human embryos. That's the truth. All right, so human babies were conceived in a test tube in a laboratory. They were farmed for their stem cells, and then the human baby died. That's an abortion.